What is going on? Ship It Nation YouTube station. We're back Friday, NBA, 7 games on DraftKings. We're going to bring you in right away, Rio. Congratulations. You had another big night for the season, but waking up this morning, checking it out, finishing second, I think, in the $15. So bring you in right away. Obviously, you had a good night. Congratulations on that. How's everything going?
Yeah, everything's going good. I definitely got a little bit lucky there. I only had like 6% Donovan Mitchell. It wasn't on purpose. It's just I made a lot of changes to my projections. I wanted to get some more of these other guys that were coming in low owned. But I mean, I was in like the top 10 with everybody ahead of me that had Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen got like the double bonus, finished with like 50, and then he had one more rotation at like the 5-minute mark, got a turnover, so that definitely helped. And I basically had one person ahead of me with Giddey, so I could have got up to like second place and basically needed what happened to happen, which was like he got the triple-double bonus, got the steal, an assist, and then hit the half-court shot. So that was a huge swing.
I'm sorry, say what were you before he hit the half-court shot? Would you have been in like 5th, 6th, 7th?
I think I was in. So when he got the steal and the assist to Kobe White, I think I was at like 4.
Okay.
4 or 5, and then the half-court shot put me up to second. So yeah, that was one of the craziest minutes of basketball I've seen this season for sure. Like definitely watching it live was insane. But yeah, it was a good night. Happy to kind of get that out of the way. It's been a rough couple of weeks with the I don't know, just like the underperforming at the live final and then just losing a lot of these tournaments in a pretty big way. So it was definitely nice to get back on the right track, and then hopefully we could build off that tonight. I'm kind of liking what they're doing with these tournaments now. Well, I mean, I don't like that they're so small, but I do like the main lotto tournament is only like 9,000 people now, 50K to first. So that's kind of nice. I feel like I have a little bit of an advantage there.
Absolutely, you do. Going from 26, 27,000, cutting it down to 9,000. We all knew it's a matter of when, not if, for you to get back in the winner's circle or the second winner's circle, if you know what I mean. But no, congratulations on that, guys. If you guys haven't figured it out yet, we got baseball back. I'm gonna throw this promo code up there, MLB 50, $49 for the first month. That does include the core package with SaberSim, allows you to make 150 lineups. What is normally $99, you're getting for $49 for the first month. It's an absolute steal. Getting the opportunity for the month, if you haven't already used SaberSim or haven't seen our content on the site, it is an absolute steal. I fully recommend it. Not only is Rio having big nights in NBA, but the PGA streets are on fire. The UFC boys over there with Title, and our boy Marley. Nade's having a good night in MLB yesterday. Ham and Nades will go live, I believe, once we're done here at the top of the hour. So it's a great time to get back into the mix. Masters are coming up, MLB in full swing, and we're finishing up NBA. So if you haven't yet, fully recommend it for $49 a month. I mean, shoot, man, you can go to McDonald's nowadays and spend $49. I mean, a couple people in the car, but damn, man, it's definitely an opportunity you want to take advantage of. Before we dive in to everything, we got to shout out to the guys in chat. Not as many people yet. We'll get there. We changed the time, and obviously a ton of sports going on. But shout out to everybody in chat. Takedown. What is that? NY Stiegel. I Am Rice. Charlie. Gang Green. Our boy Little Neck. Colin. Got our boy Title out there taking a listen to us. I absolutely love it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't clicked the like button, the subscribe button, go ahead and help us out and do that. It definitely helps with all the YouTube algorithm stuff that's way over my my knowledge of how technology works. But just click the button, get it going, help us out a little bit. We're diving into NBA tonight. We got a couple of interesting games to start the slate. First one, Cavs at the Pistons. The Cavs went from 6, now down to 5.5 point favorites. 230.5 total. We're waiting on a few things. Maybe, I don't know if this injury report is going to be final, but we for sure have Ty Jerome out, Strus out, Cade out, with a questionable tag on Tyson. Obviously, Mobley sat. It was that last night. I'm losing track of my days. But where are we going here? Are we waiting on any Cavs news, or are we going to get something closer to lock, I wonder?
There's definitely a chance. We've seen a lot of times that there'll be another injury report that comes out for Cleveland. And with it being a back-to-back, they're definitely trying to find rest for these guys just because they're not I don't think that they can catch the Thunder right now for the number one spot. So it kind of like doesn't make sense to put your guys' health on the line just to, I don't know, improve your record, I guess. I wouldn't be surprised if we get news throughout the day that one of Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland were to sit. I feel like Donovan is probably the more likely guy, but he did get a night off a couple games ago, I think, with the groin injury. But if it's a real groin injury, I wouldn't imagine they want to run him out there for a ton of minutes again because he did play 35 last night, so I was kind of dead wrong on that game because San Antonio was able to keep the game close. And even Kenny Atkinson has kind of talked about how they have tired legs, and that has led to their rebounding being very bad. I remember looking up at the box score at halftime and seeing Keldon Johnson had like 7 rebounds, Castle had 6, I think like Sochan or somebody else like Bismack had like 6 or 7. So the rebounding is definitely taking a hit for Cleveland right now just due to those tired legs. Jared Allen's been playing every game this season. He wants to finish out the season healthy, so he's going to continue to play every game, but minutes might come back a little bit for him. But on to the matchup-wise in this game. So the Cavs definitely been slipping a little bit, giving up a ton of points to guys like Phoenix, Portland, San Antonio, but both these teams are really good with their rim protection. The one area of weakness for the Cavs outside of the rebounding as of late has been their three-point defense. And then for Detroit, kind of same thing. Like they're a little bit worse against off-ball scorers, but their pick-and-roll defense hasn't been very good this season. So definitely a better spot for the guards. But the prices are way up there on Donovan and Garland, and coming off of a back-to-back, I don't really see myself getting into much of either of those guys. I would rather go for like a well-rested Mobley, but even him, like he's got a really tough matchup because when he gets those center minutes, when they stagger him and Jared Allen away from each other, it's going to be matched up with Isaiah Stewart, who's a very good defender and also very dirty, so he might even get injured or get thrown out or something. But I mean, he did have a really good game against the Pistons last time. These teams went for 60 DK points in that game, but he was held below 43 in the other 2 games prior to that. So that wouldn't be great at his price tag, but he's probably the guy I have the most interest in. And then I think Hunter is decent. He should definitely, I think he's going to slide into the starting lineup for Strus tonight. I don't really love that he has to share the court with 3 high usage guys like Donovan, Garland, and Mobley. And even Jared Allen sometimes can take away possessions, but matchup wise, like his play style does match up pretty well here just because he's like the primary off-ball scorer for Cleveland when he's on the court. He has a decent chance to build off of a pretty poor shooting night last night. He went for 14 and 7, put up a pretty decent fantasy score, but only shot 1 for 7 from the field or from 3-point range. So if those numbers kind of, go back to normal baseline, then he should have a pretty decent night. So I don't mind him at 4.7K. And then it's probably just getting like asking for a little bit too much to ask for like fantasy scores that are going to be usable from like Merrill, Okoro, and Dean Wade. Like maybe Merrill just because he's a flamethrower and he can get hot, but I don't love it just because he doesn't really do much else. And then the Detroit side, I'll say the matchup is like it's bad for Duren, definitely on paper with how good the front court is for Cleveland. But like I said, the rebounding has not been very good for Cleveland as of late. I don't know if he's really worth the 7.2K price tag, but he did get a little bit more like ball handling and playmaking the last game, and they kind of have talked about that a few times throughout the season, getting him more involved as a passer. Definitely ran hot on the potential assist, but did put up was it 7 assists in that game, I believe. So he's had a couple of games where he'll spike in the assist column, but yeah, I think he might be a little bit too expensive. Don't like the matchup for Tobias Harris. I think Beasley is okay. I think there's a little bit of upside to him. He's been like a little bit better as a permanent producer with Cade off the court this season. But the way to beat the Cavs is with shooting. So I think that he's going to be he should be emphasized on offense. So I don't mind Beasley at 5.2K. I'll definitely get some exposure to him. And then the main decision point in the slate, I think, is like, what are we going to do with Schroeder and Marcus Sasser? Because I mean, it was a rough go for Schroeder. That was the Millie night, and everybody played him. He was like 80%, probably like 90% some single entry contest. And I think he was the right play, but he ran into foul trouble in the first half, picked up 3 fouls, 2 in the first and then 1 in the second. So lost a handful of minutes there. But then Sasser came out and played really well. So I don't know if he's earned the minutes to cut into Schroeder's role a little bit. We did see Schroeder start a couple games ago, played 35. I would imagine they kind of want it to be more like just Schroeder filling right in for Cade, but it's kind of hard to deny how well Sasser has played in those 2 games. So I definitely want to get exposure to both. I'm not super enthused about Schroeder at like 50% or whatever he's going to be. Probably prefer more like 30%, but I mean, the value might not be great on the slate, so he'd be okay, but I definitely would be max one Sasser and Schroeder. And then Asar, I'll just touch on him quickly because he looked really good last game. Slight beneficiary with Kate off the court, doesn't really change too much from like a usage and rebounding rates, but his assists do shoot up a little bit. Just not a good matchup with how good the rim protection and transition defense is for Cleveland. So I don't think that'll get to too much Asar tonight.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you said regarding, the biggest decision point is going to be what we're going to do with these two guards. I think at the ownership we're seeing for Schroeder, like what you said, like if we find ourselves with like 30 to 40% ownership at 5,100, I would definitely stay away. I'll take my shots at 3,300 with Saucer off the bench. And then, I love you touching on Asar Thompson. I mean, I ended up finding him in my roster on that Millie night. A little frustrating as far as rotations goes. I haven't watched too much and dialed too deep into like the rotations of the Pistons. And some of these just kind of feels like, man, dude, he could get on the floor a couple minutes earlier, maybe stay on another minute. Yeah. But absolutely love the call there. It's hard, when you're watching, you see the Beasleys and the Hollands and the Fontecchios come off the bench. And, it seems maybe as season's gone on, those guys on the second unit be able to, play a little bit longer in situations. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll probably going back to the well here with at least one Cav if possible. I think, 6,700. I know regardless of the matchup, I think 6,700 after a big night from Allen is pretty interesting to take a look at. But hey,
before fourth too. He went off in that fourth quarter. I think he was 0 for 1 like in the third quarter, and somebody in Discord was like, is he going to shoot the ball? And then he literally finished 10 for 11, like just went absolutely off in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, what did he finish with? 50 something. I think Donnie got up to
I believe
52. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man, fun stuff. Take advantage of injuries and stuff. Before we move on, we didn't touch on it, but you brought up Kenny Atkinson, and he's obviously a pretty heavy favorite to be coach of the year. What happened with the Taylor Jenkins stuff today? You got to take on that. I mean, it's got to be a scandal, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it has to be. I don't know. Like it's a very weird timing. Like 2 weeks away from playoffs, and then your team is good. Like they're fourth in the West, fifth in the West, something like that.
And they're good, and they're doing a great job of resting guys throughout the whole season. It's like I think they're one of the teams that like set up like they're not scheduled, but they're playing throughout the season, and it's literally worked to a T. So I don't know. It has to be something behind the scenes. But like you mentioned in Discord, like I looked up the same stuff on Twitter, and it was like, dang, dude, they really wanted him gone. So I don't know what. But I think he was fourth in coach of the year odds. I mean, obviously a bigger guy, but fourth in coach of the year odds, pretty crazy to lose your job 2 weeks before playoffs.
It's weird timing. I honestly don't know. Hopefully we get more clarity. I would definitely be interested to see what really transpired there.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But moving on to the red hot Clippers, at least from the offensive side, going to Brooklyn. 12.5 point favorites, or 12.5 down to 12 here for the Clippers against the Nets. 212.5 total. We have questionable tags on Watford, Clowney, and Zaire Williams. Obviously, Sharp and Cam Thomas are out. I was unaware because I don't roster many Clippers, and I feel like some of these slates they haven't been on. They've played on the night slates. They're on fire on offense, and it's crazy to see. And now they're making the trip to Brooklyn. Where are we going here?
Yeah, so I think the Clippers side is kind of closer to a fade, if anything. Like you could definitely make a case for Harden, Kawhi, Zubac. I think they all like have good matchups all around, just with how bad the Nets have been playing and how good they have been playing. But I just think that this game is going to play out either low scoring or it's going to be like a pretty big blowout. We've seen Brooklyn really unable to put up points, and now they get to go up against the Clippers defense that has been one of the better defensive units all season long. And on top of that, they're going to be without some NBA caliber players probably because these G League guys did get called up. So I would imagine all of those Q tags, maybe like 2 of them are out, but for sure some of them are going to be out tonight because they did call up those G League guys. So I just think that this could be a pretty big blowout, and I don't really want to. I don't know. I don't really want to like get too deep into Clipper side. I'd probably just be a max 1, maybe get a little sprinkle here and there. That's probably it in the Clippers, though. I don't really like. It's just those 3. It's like Kawhi, Harden, and Zubac, I think. But Brooklyn does become a little bit more interesting because if those 3 guys miss, they'll still have bodies. Like they have Tosan. I'm gonna try to pronounce his last name. Tyson Etienne is in. Reese Beekman is in, and then they already called up Dariq Whitehead. So those guys are going to play. I would just be very cautious about the vets. So like I'm not playing Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, D'Angelo Russell because the Nets like they need to lose games right now. So I want to play the guys that I know are going to get first half rotations and are also going to be playing deep in a blowout. So to me, that would be like Maxwell Lewis. They've talked about wanting to get a longer look at him, and Dariq Whitehead. I think those are the two guys I would really be considering. But you are also like these guys aren't very good, so it's like you're not going out of your way to play them. I think getting like a handful of shares, like 5% or something like that, is the way to play it. But those are probably the only two guys I'm really considering right now. Once we get news of Watford, Zaire, and Clowney being ruled out.
Yeah, no, this was one of the things you said pre-show, but we have to wait on this news here. I agree. We're gonna be given some opportunities to get some of these guys depending on everything shakes out. As far as the Clipper side for me goes, I agree. I mean, James Harden 9-6, he'd probably be my favorite. He's just been absolutely awesome over the last month or so. And still 9-6, he provides us upside, a really high floor, regardless of the spread. I think he would be my favorite play, but definitely a game we're going to have to take the wait and see approach as we don't know what is going to go on over the next few hours. Moving on to a team from the Nets that need to lose to a team that, if I'm not mistaken, the Raptors are done, right? They're locked into the 7 seed, if I'm not mistaken. So really doesn't matter if they win or lose. Really curious to hear your thoughts on some of these studs. But the Hornets are traveling to Toronto. Raptors are 5.5-point favorites with a 215 total. Boucher's questionable. Don't think that matters much personally. Okogie, Ball, RJ, and Abaji are all out. We're going to have some opportunities from the Hornets side, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how we can approach guys like Scotty quickly, plays like that now that the Raptors are locked into their 7th spot.
Yeah, so they're 3 games back of Brooklyn and Philadelphia, but those guys are doing a very good job of losing. So they're probably locked in. Like you said, they're 5 games ahead of San Antonio. I mean, there's like an outside chance they could get up into that 5 spot, but I doubt it. They've won two games in a row, so they kind of screwed their chances there. So they'll probably just end up playing things straight up moving forward, I would imagine. Obviously, they're going to be resting guys like with Quickly and Pirtle and RJ Barrett all getting nights off. But I mean, Scotty Barnes is probably playing close to full, I would imagine. Like there's a couple games where he got to like 32, 34, and he's been playing pretty well from like a per minute standpoint. So I think you're probably fine taking some shots on him. I think that Quickly is probably the guy I have the most interest in, though, at 6.7K. Just because he's gone 5x his salary. Both the numbers here. He's gone 5x his salary 5 of the last 6 games. And a couple of those games he was in the 40s, so gone 6x. Like those are pretty good numbers for somebody at 6.7K. So I'd like him the best. And I don't mind Pirtle either, just because it's such a great matchup. The Hornets have been just terrible in both ends of the court, but like defensively they're pretty bad. Offensively they've been really struggling as well. And the Raptors on the other side are playing really good on defense, which has just come out of nowhere. But it's kind of crazy to think like this game could be a blowout with 2 tanking teams. But Pirtle has been, I mean, he's always been a really good per-minute producer. It's just now that the minutes aren't really there, and he's 6K, makes it tougher to like, I don't know, like the minutes could easily be 17 tonight, but they're probably going to be like 25. So all 3 of those guys I think are definitely in play here, just with the matchup being so good. But they'll want to get Mobo mixed in as well. And then Jacoby Walter should get the start for RJ Barrett. He's pretty safe from like a minute standpoint. Just you need him to get hot from shooting because he's not going to do much else. Did get 6 and 4 assists in his last 2 games, but didn't shoot the ball that great. He's still taking double-digit shots, which is good to see. But yeah, the Hornets are allowing the most threes in the second half of the season, so it's kind of a good matchup for him. I just don't know what the upside really looks like for him. He had like 1 game as a starter this season where he put up 40, and I think that might have been the most he's had all season long. He's normally in like the low 20s, which is okay at his price tag, but not great. Hornets side, it's closer to an X out than really jamming these guys in. Obviously, LaMelo Ball is going to be out, so that does condense a lot of the usage on like Miles Bridges and Mark Williams to a lesser degree. But the price is way up there on Bridges, and he's shooting the ball terribly right now. 1 for 15 from 3-point range over the last 2 games. Not in very good form. He's going to get matched up with Scotty Barnes, who apparently is should be all defensive player of the year or something like that. But yeah, it's just not a great matchup for Bridges. Really bad price tag. I'm okay not having too much of him. KJ Simpson is going to get the start more than likely, unless I do something weird. But him and Nick Smith Jr. split the touch time minutes basically down the middle the last time that LaMelo missed. So you could play the leverage game, give it to Nick Smith as a pivot off of KJ. KJ hasn't been great as a starter this season. He's averaging right over like 30 minutes per game as a starter, but just under 26 DraftKings points, which is fine for his price tag, but there's not a ton of upside there. I think that Nick Smith might have a little bit more like true ceiling to him, but definitely KJ is a lot safer, like a cash game staple, I would imagine. But I don't know how good he is in tournaments. There's really not a ton of great value on the slate, so he's probably pretty decent, but I'm not really expecting a ton from him. And then Nurkic, I guess you can sprinkle some in just because he's playing like 16 minutes, but don't really have anything else to say there. It's worth noting, Tijon Salon did get mixed into the rotation a good bit last 2 games, 25, 26 minutes. So he should definitely be in a player pool because he's been playing decently in the G League, not great, but the minutes are there. And this is a Toronto team that I think they're kind of playing above their heads defensively. So he should be able to put up a decent fantasy score.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised to see the month numbers from the Raptors defensive side, or at least from the defensive side of the ball, giving up a little transition, if I'm not mistaken. But no, I mean that's why they're kind of out of contention and they're kind of locked in. They're playing too well defensively. If you had to pick between Bridges and Mark Williams, are you going down to Mark Williams? Because of the shooting woes, I may have missed that, but if you had to pick between the two, do you like the better matchup for Mark Williams?
Yeah, I think so. I always like tacking Jakob Poeltl, so yeah, I definitely would prefer him. He's been playing, like the minutes have been pretty solid for him as well, 28, 28, 31 his last 3. So yeah, I probably would say Mark Williams.
Absolutely good. And then, getting some value here, like I would agree because we're moving on to the next game that, is going to mean something for the standings. I believe Giannis is 50-50 here. We were kind of talking pre-show about it. I think you can flip a coin to see if they're going to play, but the Knicks are traveling to Milwaukee. The Knicks are frankly just running out of point guards. A 1-point spread in favor of the Knicks, 217.5 total. Total doesn't seem that, enticing, but I'm interested in this game. Obviously, Payne, Brunson, McBride, and Dame are all out with the questionable tag on Giannis. We get to play your boy here at 3,200. Do you like him, or do you like going DeLon Wright off the bench?
I mean, it depends on who's starting. I think they're going to start Collect because he did get the second half start. But, I mean, DeLon Wright, he's a vet. He's been around a lot longer. I think he's definitely better on defense because there was a lot of times in that last game where Collect was getting hunted down. They won't be able to do that. The Bucks really won't be able to hunt him down because they don't have Dame. And if they don't have Giannis, then I think that definitely would be much better for Collect. But, yeah, I mean, he's like in a small sample, he's got a really low usage role, but the assist numbers have been really good. I think he's averaging like 8 in the last 3 games, something like that. But he has a 39% assist percentage, just averaging 0.8 fantasy points per minute. So not great, but just take it with a grain of salt because the sample is very small. I think he's kind of tough to get away from. Like if he's starting, he's probably playing a good amount of minutes just because he's going to play the starting point guard probably 30 minutes and then DeLon Wright will get like the leftover 18 or whatever. But yeah, I would definitely be max one of those 2 guys because I don't think that they'll overlap much, if at all. I am kind of interested though in the guys up top though, like Cat. He's been really good in this matchup, averaging 59 DraftKings points against the Bucks this season. He has a 32% usage rate, 11% assist percentage, 30% rebounding rate in the small sample without all the guards, but his fantasy point per minute production is still a solid 1.6 fantasy points per minute. I think Brook Lopez is a great rim protector, great shot blocker, but he doesn't have the athletic ability to stay in front of Cat. So I think Cat is a really, really strong spend up option coming off of a couple pretty strong games. Had the triple-double 2 games ago, and then, the massive game against the Clippers, 34 points against Zubac, who I would say is kind of similar to Brook Lopez in some ways, a little bit more athletic, but kind of just like a lumbering around big man. And then Josh Hart, the numbers look really bad for him with all the point guards off, small sample, but I do think that there's a little bit of upside to him just because we know that he can do a little bit of everything. It's kind of matchup dependent sometimes. You prefer him against those up-tempo teams that don't really have great rim defense, but he's kind of like the next best option in the starting lineup in terms of guys that can handle the ball and do a little bit of playmaking. So I do have interest in Josh Hart tonight. And then between OG and Bridges, give me OG all day. He's been playing really good in the absence of Brunson. Coming off another really good game against Kawhi, went 11 for 17 from the field, 42 DK points, up to 39.2 DK points per game without Brunson this season. I mean, he's playing really good basketball right now. Definitely would be tougher if Giannis is in. Obviously brings a ton of foul risk, but he's just playing really good basketball. And then also on the foul risk thing, like Mitchell Robinson as a pivot off of Cat, definitely be max one of those two guys. But Cat does run into foul trouble at times, especially if Giannis is in. Like Giannis is going to the basket, he's gonna try to get him into foul trouble. So Mitchell Robinson makes a little bit of sense as a pivot there. On the Bucks side, really just got to wait for the Giannis news. Like you said, it's definitely a true 50-50. That sounded like he was going to be back tonight based off of Doc Rivers' quotes. But, I mean, he's been dealing with a few injuries, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does sit. And that's definitely the biggest on the slate. He's got the left foot sprain, which is definitely not something you want to try to play through. But they kind of need a win here. They're slipping in the standings a little bit with, I think, the Pistons and the Pacers are like right on their heels. And if he's in, I honestly don't even like him that much. OG has done a really good job against him this season. He's only averaging 47, hasn't topped 47 DK points, averaging a little bit less than that. But, I mean, the rim defense for the Knicks is a lot better with Mitchell Robinson in, and Robinson will be in tonight. So I kind of don't like Giannis, like coming in, we had 30%. I'm seeing like 50% at some other places. So it could be, yeah.
I think it's closer to 50 for sure. I think there's nobody to spend on. We're going to have some value here on the Knicks side. So I would agree with 50.
Yeah, that seems like that's a lot. Like, especially coming off of a game that he missed and he's truly injured. Like we've seen them really be cautious with his minutes when he returns as well. So I'm not super excited about it. But I do have interest in Brook Lopez. Kind of seems like I always do, but he's just in really good form right now. 21 or more points in 3 straight games, 46 plus DK points in his last 2. He's a 1.13 per minute producer with Dame off the court this season, and he's just playing a ton of minutes. They're going to keep running him out there because they don't really have any depth behind him. So he's probably playing 36 tonight. And at 6.2K, I think that's a pretty good price tag for him at no ownership. Kuzma sucks. Not playing him if Giannis is in. I guess I'll play some if Giannis is out, but I mean, oh my God, he's got to be like one of the worst like good players in the league.
So you call him good though, but like that's crazy because I mean to start the season, it was just like for the Wizards, you're just like, dude, I hate this guy, I can't stand this guy. Maybe it's a little personal vendetta with the way that he dresses for me, but it was so funny seeing some of those clips. What was it? He had like the terrible Euro step, and then he had like the 360 layup. I was dying watching those, but I couldn't agree more, man. I mean, I made the mistake of calling him like the situation similar to like a Bobby Portis situation, and I'm so sorry I talked bad on Bobby Portis like that. But yeah, the volume seems to be there, but at extreme ownership, it's really ugly to click it.
Yeah, for sure. So I would probably be looking to take an underweight stance again if Giannis were to be out, and then probably just a full fade if Giannis is in. But KPJ and Ryan Rollins, I got to see what they do with the starting lineup. I see one place has Kevin Porter Jr. projected as a starter. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be Rollins. Like Doc Rivers has some weird infatuation with him. I guess it's because
he closed that game, right?
I guess it was like an injury related thing. I mean, the plus minus numbers were pretty bad for KPJ, but I don't like that doesn't really tell the whole story. Like he was clearly doing like everything for them. I just think that he's the better player personally, but I mean, Doc likes him. He likes the defense that Rollins provides. You don't really need a lot of guard defense against the Knicks with no Brunson. So I don't know. It would make sense to get some offense in the first unit because they don't really have any if it's just Giannis out there because Kuzma stinks. Ryan Rollins doesn't really do much. And Brook Lopez is just going to be launching 3. So it makes sense to get somebody out there that can actually provide some offense. But Doc Rivers almost never does what we think he should do. So we got to wait and see. But I mean, KPJ is clearly the better fantasy option. 27% usage rate, 30% assists, 10% rebounding rate with Dame off the court. 1.17 fantasy points per minute versus Rollins 0.96. So he's clearly the better option. I'd definitely be max one of those two guys because I don't think they overlapped at all. I'd have to look at Popcorn Machine, but I'm pretty sure that they were just subbing in 1 for 1. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking in this game. I think it should be a decent one to attack. Got some value, got some spend ups. I do like it.
Yeah. If Giannis was to miss, I would anticipate that we'd see a lot more popular combos. I mean, a really popular combo the other night when Giannis missed was, at least from my perspective, was Porter, Brook, and Kuz together. Obviously, the ownership was a lot higher. I believe almost 2 times as much on Kuzma versus Brook Lopez. I think that kind of changes a little bit. So I think this may be an interesting spot. Everybody knows how bad Kuzma is. They all watch him. I think that ownership comes down, which makes it interesting, but I couldn't agree more. I really like a fade if we start looking at 40, 50% ownership. So moving on, we have Suns going to Minnesota tonight to take on the T-Wolves. T-Wolves are favored by 7 with a 224.5 total. Bradley Beal is out, and I may be missing another report, but pre-show, that's all that I had here. Interested to hear your thoughts with, another, questionable coach team.
Yeah, I mean, this Bud is terrible. I mean, I don't know what the hell he was thinking against the Celtics. I think he was like doubling Jaylen Brown or something, and they just leaving shooters wide open. I mean, like the Wolves kind of match up similarly. Like they've been taking a ton of threes in the second half of the season. So I kind of think Minnesota can run away with this one, but the games have generally been pretty close against these two teams. The way you want to attack the Suns is with guards. I think that Ant is in a very good spot here. He's been killing the Suns all season long, but kind of comes into the game, a little banged up, has a thumb injury, shot 1 for 11 from deep against the Pacers. But he'll definitely come in motivated. Kevin Durant is his favorite player, so he loves playing against him. And he's averaging 55 DK points per game against Phoenix this season, so definitely a ton of upside on Ant. I think Randall, they used to start to come down a little bit. Prices up there, so I'm not too excited about him, but I do like Rudy Gobert a little bit at 6.3K. He's been playing pretty good, put together a couple of strong fantasy outings, and Nick Richards is not a very good defender. The Suns do struggle to rebound. So it could be one of those games where we get like efficient shooting, like a 15-point game, 15 rebound game from Rudy, and I think that he would pay off the price tag. It's kind of crazy to see some of the ownership numbers on some of these centers like Brook Lopez and Rudy Gobert. Like I definitely think it's pretty easy to get over the field on these guys, and I think you can make a case that they're in pretty good spots. So I don't mind Rudy Gobert. McDaniels, probably not. He's going to have his hands full on defense. I don't know if there's going to be enough work for him on offense to go around, but I do think Nas, like he's starting to become an option now at 5.7K, obviously coming down from the Randall injury where he was up near like the 8Ks. I mean, nothing really to say about matchup wise. Like he's going to be matched up against some pretty weak defenders in the second unit, so he's always got that upside. And then would definitely be Max 1 Dante Conley. Don't really love either in particular. I think Conley's price is way down there now, so that's kind of interesting.
If he plays 20 minutes tonight, is he worth rostering at 3,500?
Yeah, I think so. It's a really
that
good
was
matchup.
The number for me. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably more than 22. I mean, he really had that game against New Orleans where he played 10. But every other game he's in like the low to upper 20s. So yeah, Conley's actually pretty decent because it's a great matchup versus Suns. Like we love attacking the Suns with guards. And there's a little bit of coach quotes saying Finch wanted to get him like to be more aggressive in his first and third quarter rotations. So who knows? I mean, that's a really good price tag on Conley.
Conley or Knicks starting point guard?
I would definitely go starting point guard for the Knicks. Just the minutes are going to be there for them.
Yeah.
Sun side is pretty easy. It's just KD and Booker. KD is matchup proof, coming off of another really strong game in the blowout, 30 points in 30 minutes, averaging 55 against the Wolves this season. He's going to have a tough matchup, but it's Kevin Durant. Like he's better than everybody basically. And then Booker, he's been he's been running really cold on the potential assists, has like 18 or 19 potential assists last 3 games, but he does have double doubles in 3 of those games. So there's kind of leaving a lot of meat on the bone. He did have a huge game against Minnesota early on this season, but was held in check in the other 2 meetings. The Wolves do a really good job against guards like Booker. It'll be a lot of Anthony Edwards on him, I would imagine, which is a tough matchup. So don't love it. I definitely think that KD's probably got a little bit safer floor ceiling combo than Booker does, but I think there's enough upside on both these guys to consider tonight. It's not great though. That's probably it though. Like Nick Richards, I don't think that he's really an option at 4.7K. Budenholzer wants to play him, but I think he's going to get exposed again just with the way that the Wolves just shoot so many threes. So I think I'm not going to have any of him. Definitely no Ryan Dunn. Maybe a little bit of Tyus. I think he's cheap enough to consider. I just don't really get why they're bringing him off the bench. But yeah, nobody knows what Budenholzer's doing really.
Yeah, they need that season to end. Rudy Gobert or Jared Allen? No, it's a little difference in price, but
I think Rudy.
Okay.
Just
I think
you're
I
not
would
really
agree
getting
for a
like
little discount.
yeah, it's just a couple hundreds cheaper. Not really getting much of a ownership discount, but yeah, I think Rudy. I like the matchup a little bit better for him.
Yeah, wonderful. No, I agree. I think, I love the Ant stuff. I wish, he at least felt a little healthier than what he is. But like you said, I mean, look at the averages he has against the Suns. Wants to take it to KD, so I really like him at 9.6. Do like the fact we're getting some pretty decent ownership on him too. But all right, well, hey, we're gonna keep moving on. We got a couple ugly games here to finish up the slate. Warriors against the Pelicans in New Orleans. Curry is questionable tonight. Obviously, CJ, Zion, Trey, everybody else is out from the Pelican side of the Pelican side of the game. Warriors 14 and a half point favorites, 226. Blowout stuff. I mean, this doesn't feel fun with what we see the salaries at, but can we make something happen with some of these Pelican guys?
Definitely with the Pelicans. I don't think so much with the Warriors. Like obviously this is a great matchup, and Steve Kerr said that this is a big game, which is kind of funny, but just like a big game for them to get back on track after the big loss against Miami. It sounded like Steph will be back tonight, but he still has the pelvic injury. So Steve Kerr said he wouldn't be surprised if he missed, but that doesn't really provide much clarity. But yeah, it's a really good matchup for the Warriors. It's just if Curry's in, it becomes like kind of closer to an X out just because I don't think the Pelicans can really hang around here. But I do think Kuminga is kind of interesting at 5.3K just because you want to play him against like these pace up teams that are bad in transition, bad with the rim defenses. He could get a ton of volume up around the basket. So I don't mind him. Probably the only option I'm really considering on the Warriors right now. Pelican side does provide a good amount of value. Kelly Olynyk's been playing really good in the games that he gets minutes. Put up a near triple-double last time they played, which I believe it's been like 4 or 5 days since they played.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, he's always been a good fantasy producer when he gets a minute. Probably going to be playing around 28 to 30, which is kind of enough to keep him in play. So I don't mind Olynyk. Alvarado had a terrible shooting night, kind of salvaged it with the assists and steals, but it's a tough matchup. He's good. Like he's solid. I don't think that we're getting like a crazy jump in minutes from him just because they want to get a look at some of these other guys. They did bring in Elfrid Payton, and he was pretty much subbing in right behind them. So they're kind of splitting those center minutes down the middle. So I'd definitely be max one of those two. But I don't know. I kind of would rather take my shots spending down for Elf than spending up for 5.1K Alvarado, but that's just me. And then Hawkins had the mid-game injury, but the usage was definitely there. Attempted 14 shots in just 24 minutes. The Warriors are much more of a catch-and-shoot funnel, so it's a pretty good matchup for him. And his minutes should be pretty safe. Like he was trending for probably like 34, 35 minutes, so he should be pretty safe. And then Karlo Metkovic, I would be max one Missy and Metkovic. I kind of prefer Metkovic here just because the Warriors do run a little bit more small ball. I think he kind of matches up pretty good here. And then Keon Brooks, another guy that his minutes are going to be pretty safe. He's only 3.1K, so he's definitely a usable value. But there's just not a ton of spend ups that we don't really need a guy like him. But yeah, I would definitely be keeping all these guys in the player pool because I think we'll get a decent fantasy score from somebody here that would probably be usable for tournaments.
Yeah, I mean they're almost 106 team total. They're at home. I think too, if this game does get out of hand, these guys will still get some minutes. So really interested in getting at least a couple Pelicans. You said one. I think for me it's going to be like two, and try and pair a guard and a big, kind of mix and match through that. But in terms of this far as game stacking goes, I'm hoping for the Curry to miss. Kind of gives you some more flexibility on Warrior to play against the Pelicans here. But moving on, finishing up the slate, your Jazz going to Denver to take on the Nuggets, 17 and a half point favorites, a 240 total, which I mean, it's 10 points more than the Pistons Cavs, but relatively speaking, it's 15, 20 points compared to all the other games on the slate. As far as injuries goes, we are not going to have Clarkson, Collins, or Hendricks tonight. Laurie and Murray are both questionable. And then probable tags for essentially all the other Nuggets: Gordon, Joker, MPJ, and Brown. 128 team total, almost 129 is a big team total. The spot is great. What are we thinking here in this high-scoring matchup?
So we did get word that Laurie is going to be out tonight, which was kind of expected. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I want to attack the Jazz obviously because they're such a bad defense. We could just get some like. I don't know. We could get some weird rotations for Denver because if Utah can't hang around, then we'll see Mike Malone probably go deeper into the bench early on in this game, which would really hurt the upside of all these guys. Utah's been able to hang around in some games, and Denver really hasn't been able to blow guys out. So I think it's like worth the risk getting into this game just because the team total is so big for Denver, and you could get some really, really big games from some of these guys. But the Utah side, like I do have interest here because so they're on the road, so they won't have their G League guys, which is really good. At least I don't think. I see Oscar Tshiebwe is projected for some minutes, but I think he has a G League tag. No, he's in. Okay. So that kind of sucks because I was really liking Walker Kessler. He's been really good in this matchup. I think he's still fine though. Like they're gonna play these guys probably full minutes. They did play full minutes against the Rockets after they got I don't know, there's like a lot of negative comments from Will Hardy about the team against the Grizzlies game. He pulled all the starters. Like Sexton was playing like 3-minute stints, and then he's saying something about like the guys need to like care about. I forgot what it was, but it was a bad look. But they kind of got back on track in that game against Houston. So yeah, Walker Kessler, I think I'll continue to take shots on him. He's been really good in this match in particular, averaging 44.6 DraftKings points per game against the Nuggets. But with Potter in the G League and Oscar Tshiebwe coming back, there's a chance that the minutes are like 28 versus 32. But they also there's been times where they'll kind of not match his minutes, but he'll get a little bit more just to match up with Jokic a lot more, because I think that, Jokic would cook Tshiebwe, and Walker kind of matches it pretty well with Jokic. I think there's a chance that it's like 33, 34 tonight. And if it is, then, $7K for Walker Kessler is an expensive tag, but he can pay off in a really big way. And I don't mind the guards, Keontae, Sexton, Collier, probably going to be max 1, maybe even, like, you could be max 2. I think that's safer, but I would possibly be even max 1 just because we don't really see multiple of these guys put up GPP winning scores. I'll lean Sexton just because he's got probably the most upside, but I'm not very confident in it. I do like Filipkowski, though, at 6K. He's been playing really good this season. Put up nearly 40 DK points against the Rockets, which are really good defense. I'd say the Nuggets are a much better matchup for him. But he's shown, like, when he's given the minutes, like 32-plus minutes, he'll put up a big score, and 6K is a good price tag for him. So I definitely lean the bigs here. Sensabaugh is cheap enough to consider 3.7K. I don't know. I don't love it. He's actually been shooting great. I think he's shooting 55 or 58% from 3-point range since the All-Star break, like just shooting really well right now. So I don't mind him. Nugget side, it's obviously Jokic up top, 12.3K, put up 93 DK points the last time these teams met. So that's kind of what you're hoping for, because if we do get a close game like that one, then he's going to smash. Trying to think of how to play it. If you're playing like Sexton or like Kessler or like Flip, you should probably consider correlating some of those guys on the other side. I think that makes a little bit of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also waiting for the Jamal Murray news. Probably going to give him the night off. He's been playing a ton of minutes lately. They're going to win this game regardless, but they don't really need to push him up. So that would definitely make me interested in Russell Westbrook, 7.4K. He had a triple-double. That was one of the games where they both had triple-doubles, I believe, and he put up 56 in that game. So I would definitely like him just because it's a great spot for Westbrook. Obviously, the transition scoring is where you want to play a guy like Westbrook, and Jazz are dead last in that category, so it'd be a really, really good spot for him. And then Christian Braun, I think that he is, outside of Westbrook, if Murray were to miss, I think he's probably the best non-Jokic option on the Nuggets, just because same thing for him. Like, he's such a good transition scorer, and he also thrives in games against like teams that have high turnover rates. Jazz are dead last in turnover percentage this season, so I think those are the two guys that really match up well here. You can make the case MPJ does too, because the 3-point defense is so bad for Utah, and he did get back on track in a really big way against Milwaukee. But I think that I prefer the transition scoring guys like Westbrook and Christian Braun the most.
Yeah, no, I I agree with both of those guards. I think Joker is obviously going to be my primary spin on the slate. I think his price is coming back down to something that's reasonable. That extra couple $100 at that price range definitely matters. I think we're going to get a ton of ownership to Giannis if he does end up playing tonight. And I think this being the last game on the slate, people will kind of, there's not a dramatic difference. A couple hours after lock, and the Warriors and Pelicans games are pretty close. But I think we're going to have the opportunity to get a little bit lower percentage on Jokic which makes it really interesting. And like you said, I think, the Jazz have been staying in some of these games. I think the Nuggets defense has been really bad, and I think they do end up giving Murray the night off, which makes it really interesting. But I couldn't agree more. I think if I had to pick, between the Jazz side, I mean, like I joked last show, I can't distinguish between these guards at all.
Yeah,
I always seem to go the wrong way. But Walker Kessler at 7K, if he does end up getting the minutes, is a fantastic play in my eyes.
He's probably closer to doubtful, I would say, actually, because I'm just looking at, like, there's not a ton of beat writers for the Jazz, but one guy, Andy Larson, he said Walker was downgraded to questionable due to illness, and then in parentheses, he really did seem ill in the locker room last night, and then Shibwe being available on the road might be an indicator that he's out tonight, which would make Shibwe, I mean, probably the best value in the slate, I would think, just because he's the dude, like, is just a great rebounder, and you're really not worried about the defense on the other side. So you kind of got a plan for that, I would imagine, because that's really big. Like, Shibwe would be very, very good, and he might be unowned. So that would kind of make sense. Like, if you start with, I don't know how you'd have to play it, but it'd be like Kessler and like Murray or something that might add up to Jokic and Shibwe.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what those clicks look like. And even if that doesn't happen, I mean, would you feel comfortable not having the news and having Westbrook in that slot? Or are you just going to go down to MPJ and Brown instead?
I would probably just, like, if Murray is in.
Yeah, well, let's say the slate starts and we don't have news on Kessler or Murray, right? Like you said, you can go like Murray and Kessler and then switch it up. How inclined would you be to do that same move with Westbrook? Like I said, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know what the totals end up being. But are you just going to Brown and MPJ, not knowing the Murray news and then being able to make that swap, or is that swap only okay with the Murray and the Kessler, if that makes sense?
Well, I think you'd have to start with the high end guys just to give yourself more flexibility. You don't, because it's going to be way harder to move things around if you start Braun and then Murray gets ruled out, or you know what I mean? Like, it's tough to go up from there when you have, like, there's a 2.5K price difference. But with Murray, like, if you start there, he's 8.5K. That allows you a ton of flexibility. You might be leaving money on the slate or money on the table, but that'd probably be okay. Like, at that point, you're just looking for projection.
Yeah, absolutely. No, good. Well, that makes sense. And like I said, how does the slate? I know we got a couple games early. So we go 8-8. So I guess you have to make your decision by the start of that Suns game. Oh, no, the Knicks are there too. Okay. Well, then this is really interesting. I'm going to take a second look at that, but I think you're going to have to make your decision by 5 o'clock on the West Coast, which gives you just an hour.
Utah is normally pretty good at putting the injury reports out, like, early in the day. It's not going to be, I don't think it'll be like a 30-minute prior. It might come like an hour or two before.
Okay. All right, so then we should have that news. Well, wonderful. Good. Hey, 7 games done on DraftKings. We left you guys enough time to slide over and watch the MLB show. Say what's up to our boy Nade. Say what's up to our boy Ham. I believe that's them on Friday. We don't really find ourselves in a spot ranking too much. I think, if you look back on the show, you talked specifically about some centers. I think you like Jokic. I think you like, Brook Lopez a lot. You like Rudy Gobert. Anybody else you might want to throw in that mix, or are those going to be some of your favorite centers on the slate?
Filipkowski I kind of like regardless, but he can only get better. Mm-hmm. So I do like him. He's power forward center. I do like him. And then like Shibwe, definitely be somebody I would want to swap onto, because he's just been a really good per-minute producer when he's playing minutes. So those are probably the guys. I think Cat as well. I mean, Cat is a great option tonight. So
missed. All right. Well, good. Hey, man, appreciate you guys all tuning in. I know the hours changed a little bit. We got some people coming in late that are normally first in the comment and with the like. Just hit us back on playback, like you said, then, slide over to the Discord. We're going to have a lot of stuff moving around, specifically the net stuff, and then stuff we're going to talk about later with the Jazz. Anything you want to leave the people with before you go slide over to the MLB show?
Yeah, go show the boys some support. The NBA show will be moving up an hour now, we got to jam in a couple shows every day now. So it'll be 3 p.m. Eastern. It'd be noon for me and BJ. Just anticipate that moving forward. We're going to be doing it a little bit earlier, which would it'll make it tougher on us for sure. We kind of get a lot of the injury news flowing in around this time, but we'll do our best to continue to break it down. Appreciate everybody coming out. Viewership still pretty solid for you know, we got to battle off with MLB, so pretty solid viewership. So we appreciate you guys stopping in.
Absolutely. No, we'll do it. And then are we back again Monday? Is that going to be official? I know I'm doing a quick hits tomorrow for Saturday. If I'm not mistaken, we're back Monday afternoon.
It'll be you and Ham Monday. I'll be back. I'll be Tuesday through Friday now.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, sounds like a plan, guys. We look forward to you guys seeing you guys through the weekend. Good luck tonight in your contest, and let's ship it.